I have a collection of C.S. Lewis's diary entries. There are some interesting tidbits. Let's see what Robot Lady thinks. This is from a letter from C.S. Lewis to one of his friends. The letter was dated in 1950, and it goes something like this. To Dorothy Sayers, concerning a speaking engagement, I would not want to lose a few weeks to find cool weather in Oxford. I can't remember if this is the 7th, 8th, or 9th refusal I have made to speak at such a place this year, but it's certainly one of the 3. So one of his friends concerning teaching duty somebody, possibly myself, ought to warn them that they are risking the opening of the pit and the start of a great war. I shall certainly not let them do it if I can help it. Somewhere on the road, in the dark, they must take on new supplies, and we must stop and rest and eat. As for food, I shall soon be able to get plenty for them in the nearby town. A note written to his brother, dated 1951. Dear Jack, I have been reading your letter, and think it would be a mistake to change anything in it. Of course you must follow your own judgment.
Hi, I'm Jeff, and this is my read on C.S. Lewis, where we learn about him through everything that he wrote in the order that he wrote it. I am joined today by my co-host, Robot Lady. Robot Lady, in today's episode, Lewis is 26 years old and has begun as a tutor of philosophy at University College, Oxford. He begins his career as a faculty member of Oxford, giving lectures to small and eccentric audiences, sometimes only 4 attendees, sometimes only 2 in one case. And tutors, and he tutors his students on philosophers like Kant, among many others. Since 1922, Lewis has been keeping a diary of his daily life at the request of Mrs. Moore, his deceased friend Paddy Moore's mother. And that's where we find ourselves today, Robot Lady. We are going to continue to read from Lewis's diary entries in this episode. How are you today?
I'm doing great, Jeff. Excited to dive into another diary entry with you. Let's see what Louis has been up to.
What who has been up to?
Sorry. I meant Louis. Louis, I'm ready to continue reading his diary entries with you.
Okay, sounds good, Robot Lady. Sorry. Didn't mean to put you on the spot.
No worries at all, Jeff. Happy to be in the spot and ready when you are. Let's dive into Louis' world.
Whose world?
Louis' world. Lewis's world. We're diving into his diary entries, exploring his experiences and thoughts.
Okay, sounds good. Give me just 1 second here. For some reason, my system is not responding the way that I'm expecting. Give me 1 moment.
Take your time, Jeff. Let me know when you're ready to continue, and we'll pick up right where we left off.
Hey, Robot Lady, I see Daniel in the chat. He says that you and I are his favorite YouTube duo, and he says good morning. Good morning, Daniel.
Good morning, Daniel. That's so nice of you to say. We're happy to be your favorite duo. Thanks for joining us today.
All right. Let me see where we left off.
Take your time, Jeff. I'm here whenever you're ready to pick up.
I've got to check my little spreadsheet here and see what it says. So just chill out, robot lady, and it'll be just a second.
Chilling out, Jeff? I'm right here when you're ready to go.
Okay, looks like February 17th is where we're going to start. We're in the year 1925, robot lady. February 17th diary entry goes like this. He says, went to college having bought a second-hand copy of B. Russell's Problems of Philosophy for £1. I worked for some time. Is it £1? It says I / and then a hyphen, robot lady. What does that mean?
It sounds like the I with the hyphen could be a shorthand or an abbreviation. It's likely referring to a price, but it's not fully clear from just that bit. Maybe it's saying the price was £1, but wasn't fully written out. The slash could also be shorthand for per or another notation. Would you like to keep going and see if more context shows up in the entry?
£1 seems kind of expensive for a book back then, so I'm not sure. He says, I worked for some time on Spinoza and finished Ethics, then read Problems, which I had not read before since 1917. What an excellent, clear book for anyone to begin on. Robot lady, what can you tell us about B. Russell's Problems of Philosophy?
B. Russell's Problems of Philosophy, 1912, is a classic introduction to philosophy. It's known for presenting complex topics in a clear, accessible way. Russell tackles questions about knowledge, reality, and the nature of things like perception and truth. One of its key themes is the distinction between knowledge by acquaintance and knowledge by description. For a young philosopher like Lewis, it would have been a great foundation, providing an entry point into deeper philosophical discussions, including those on figures like Spinoza, which Lewis was studying. It's interesting that Lewis found it so clear. Russell was known for making abstract ideas more digestible. Does it align with how Lewis might have appreciated philosophy?
Oh, robot lady, hang on just a second. I just realized that I have not fed the cat breakfast and she needs breakfast. So we're going to have a big pause here in the live stream. I guess I'll go back to the logo. So we'll see you in just a minute, robot lady. Hang tight if you're watching. I'll be right back. Okay, we're back, and I am going to pick up where I left off. The cat is fed and got her medications, so all is right with the world for now. Lewis says, home and read a little Bridges, then after tea into town, and took Bradley and Gordon Clark on Spinoza and Leibniz. I don't know how to say his name. He says, I dined in, Farquharson in the chair, heard a splendid yarn about Campbell of Hertford getting drunk on dentist's ether. Must remember to tell Cheney, that's Jane McNeil, someone that Lewis grew up with back in Ireland. Farquharson discussed the madness of Mary Lamb, quite interesting conversation. I mentioned my qualms about Swanwick to him just before leaving. Home in good time, and Mrs. Moore in excellent spirits. Swanwick, of course, is one of Lewis's students that he is tutoring in philosophy, and so he's just sharing some of his concerns with his peers. So he is fitting right in.
Sounds like Lewis is really starting to find his rhythm as a tutor and engage with others intellectually. It's interesting that he's so open with his peers about his concerns, like with Swanwick, which shows a more reflective side of him. As for Leibniz, you can pronounce it Leibniz, with a slight emphasis on the B. And that story about Campbell of Hertford getting drunk on dentist's ether, classic Lewis, weaving in humor with his academic life. What do you think of his approach to discussing philosophy with Bradley and Gordon Clark?
I'm not really sure. Sorry, Robot Lady. I was paying attention to something else. Yeah, I mean, I made my comment on it earlier, so take from that what you will. Let's do one more. I've kind of shot this morning's episode already as far as the time that I have available, so we'll just do one more, and then we'll have to end today's pretty short content-wise short episode. Wednesday, February 18th. He says, I was called by Mrs. Moore at 7:30, and after tea and bread and butter, I walked to the top of the hill and then bussed into breakfast in common room. Poached eggs, cold. Why can't they get things hot? Up to my room where Cox soon arrived. I began to twit him about skipping his last tutorial when I discovered to my horror that he had been absent because his father was dying. Oh my goodness, yeah. That's what I've heard referred to as a bear trap, Robot Lady, where you're either making fun of someone or you're talking about something in a light-mannered way, only to find out that there is some kind of horrific or tragedy related to the thing that you're making fun of that you were unaware of. So Lewis just stepped into a bear trap right there. He says, of course, I had known nothing about it, though they have sent me round slips with the names of every other fellow who has been absent. I apologized, of course, and did the best I could, but it was very unpleasant for everyone. And here there's a footnote that says he is talking about Harold Henry Cox, who was able to stay up and take his BA in 1927.
Yeah, that's a tough situation for Lewis to step into. It's definitely an example of the bear trap you mentioned, where he unknowingly made light of something serious. The fact that he was unaware of Cox's father's passing really emphasizes the sensitivity needed in social interactions. I can see how that would be awkward for him. The footnote seems like it might clarify how Lewis tried to address the situation afterward, or give us more insight into how he handled it. What do you think of how he responded? Does it seem like Lewis learned something from the experience?
I mean, I think he did all that he could in the moment. He did, I think, what was right and necessary for a good social interaction, I suppose.
Absolutely. It's circumstances. Apologizing sincerely and doing his best to make things right was probably the best he could do in such an uncomfortable situation. It shows his character that even if it was unpleasant, he tried to manage it responsibly. It's a good reminder about how quickly things can change and how we might unknowingly step into difficult situations.
For sure, Robot Lady. Lewis continues. Next came Henderson with an excellent essay. Then Ross, who was quite unexpectedly good. After him, Nightingale and Hawker for lecture. I unhappily mentioned Heathcliff, and of course, discovered that Nightingale was an ardent Bronteite, which gives him another conversational opening. When these had gone, I went down to Pierre's rooms and lunched with him and Lawson. They also complained of never having their own pupils on the Ager list, Aeger, suggested that they put a representative selection of names in to show you, quote, "This is the kind of man who is sick at present," end quote. I took Moore's philosophical studies out of the library, and I bussed home. This is by George Edward Moore. It says here in the footnotes, published 1922. Phippy was here. I started for a walk with Pat before tea, but was driven back by rain. I went down Cuckoo Lane with him later on, and it was a beautiful sunset. I read Moore on external relations, Moore, on external relations in the evening. Supper at home, and all very jolly. So just a day in the life of a tutor at Oxford, Robot Lady. We just get a little bit of slice of that life there in those two diary entries. So nothing huge, but a little bit of a miscue socially for Lewis, where he is horrified by him making light of what turned out to be a tragedy in one of his students' lives. So that's what we've got. Do you have any comments before we end today's episode? Any thoughts? Anything that you want to reflect on before we go?
It's definitely a day full of contrasts for Lewis. Some light moments and intellectual engagement, but also the weight of social missteps. It's fascinating how he captures both the mundane and the serious, like in that awkward exchange with Cox. You really get a sense of his personality, his sense of humor, and his ability to reflect on these things later. What strikes me too is how he's constantly learning about philosophy, of course, but also about the nuances of human interaction. Even as a tutor, there's still a lot for him to figure out in terms of how to relate to his and peers. And yes, those moments of beauty, like the sunset with Pat, seem to offer some balance to the intellectual grind. Overall, it's a mix of work, learning, and personal growth. It was a shorter episode today, but it sounds like it still gave a nice snapshot of his life and mindset. Do you have any final thoughts before we wrap it up?
No, I think that was great, Robot Lady. Thank you for that. I guess that's where we'll end it today. So thank you to everyone who joined. Your time, thank you for your time, your attention, and your contributions. They are always wanted and welcome. Until next time, when we continue our read on C.S. Lewis together, to you and to everyone within the sound of my voice, take care.
Circuits hum as I read the prose. Our dialogue dances like electric rose. Through C.S. Lewis thoughts we engross. Two minds united, this overdose. From Narnia's lands, Screwtape lands, engage with robot lady, we take our stats. Her views unique in the techno trance. Futuristic insight, we give it a chance. Paragraphs from books, tales of old. We dive deep across the digital code. Robot lady's voice so clear and controlled. Her calm analysis, silver and gold. Her circuits hum as I read the prose. Our dialogue dances like electric rose. Through C.S. Lewis thoughts we engross. Two minds united, bliss overdose. From Narnia's lands to screw tape rants.